Prince Henry would often sneak out of the palace at night and roam the streets, causing mischief and hurting innocent people. He loved the thrill of getting away with his misdeed and laughed at the thought of anyone trying to stop him. One night, Prince Henry went too far. He snuck into a poor widow's house and stole her only source of income, a small basket of fruit. The widow was devastated and cried out for help. The king, Prince Henry's father, heard about his son's latest misdeed and was furious. He called Prince Henry to his chambers and scolded him, but Prince Henry just laughed and said he didn't care. Prince Henry's mother, the Queen, had always been a bit too indulgent with her son. She loved him dearly and couldn't bear the thought of him being unhappy. So, when Prince Henry started getting into trouble, she made excuses for him and covered up for his misdeeds. The king, Prince Henry's father, grew concerned about his son's behavior and the Queen's enabling. He warned her, "My dear, you're making a mistake by condoning Henry's actions. He needs discipline and guidance, not indulgence," but the Queen wouldn't listen. She thought the king was being too harsh and that Henry was just sowing his wild oats. She continued to support Henry's notorious lifestyle, even when he started causing harm to others. The king tried to reason with her, "My dear, you're not helping Henry by making excuses for him. He needs to learn responsibility and accountability. If we don't teach him now, he'll never learn," but the Queen refused to listen. She thought she knew better and that the king was just being too strict. As Prince Henry's behavior continued to spiral out of control, the king realized he had to take drastic measures. He called a meeting with the Queen and said, "My dear, I know you love Henry, but your indulgence is ruining him. I'm going to have to take away his privileges and make him face the consequences of his actions." The Queen was furious, but the king stood firm. He knew it was the only way to save their son from his nasty behavior. And so, the king began to discipline Prince Henry, taking away his privileges and making him face the consequences of his actions. The Queen was unhappy, but eventually, she saw the wisdom in the king's actions and began to support him. Prince Henry's behavior continued to spiral out of control. He started abusing the villagers, taking their belongings, and destroying their property. He would often get drunk and cause a scene, threatening anyone who dared to stand up to him. The villagers lived in fear of Prince Henry, and no one knew what to do. They tried to avoid him, but he seemed to take pleasure in causing chaos and destruction. One day, Prince Henry went too far. He attacked a local farmer, stealing his livestock and destroying his crops. The farmer, a kind and gentle man, was devastated. The villagers had had enough. They decided to band together and confront Prince Henry about his behavior. But when they approached him, he just laughed and threatened to hurt them. The villagers knew they needed help. They went to the king and told him about Prince Henry's actions. The king was heartbroken and promised to take action. He called Prince Henry to his chambers and scolded him, "Henry, my son, I am ashamed of you. Your behavior is unacceptable. You will apologize to the villagers and make amends, or face the consequences." But Prince Henry just sneered and refused to listen. The king realized that his son was beyond reasoning and decided to take drastic measures to protect the kingdom, and so, the king banished Prince Henry from the kingdom, stripping him of his title and privileges. Prince Henry wandered a distant land, feeling lost and alone. He had never been without his title and privileges before, and he didn't know how to cope. One day, while walking through a dense forest, Prince Henry stumbled upon a wise and powerful deity. The deity saw the darkness in Prince Henry's heart and decided to teach him a lesson. The deity said, "Prince Henry, you have lived a life of entitlement and cruelty. You have hurt many people and thought only of yourself. But today, you will learn the value of kindness and compassion." The deity waved its hand, and Prince Henry felt himself being transformed. He was no longer a prince, but a humble farmer, working hard to grow crops and raise animals. At first, Prince Henry was angry and resentful. He missed his old life and the power he once had. But as he worked the land and helped those in need, he began to see the world in a different light. He realized that true happiness came not from wealth and status, but from helping others and living a simple life. The deity watched Prince Henry's transformation with a smile. "You have learned the lesson, Prince Henry. Now, go back to your kingdom and use your newfound wisdom to rule with kindness and compassion." And so, Prince Henry returned home, a changed person. He apologized to the villagers and worked hard to regain their trust. He became a beloved leader, known for his fairness and empathy. The king and the queen was overjoyed to see the change in his son. He welcomed Prince Henry back with open arms and praised him. The king, overjoyed by his son's transformation, declared a grand celebration in honor of Prince Henry's return. The queen, equally thrilled, worked tirelessly to prepare a feast fit for a king. The villagers, who had once cowered in fear of Prince Henry, now eagerly anticipated his return. They decorated their homes and streets with colorful banners and flowers. On the day of the celebration, the kingdom was filled with music and laughter. The king and queen sat on their thrones, beaming with pride. The feast began, with tables groaning under the weight of delicious food and drink. The villagers celebrated late into the night, singing and dancing with Prince Henry, who joined in with a smile. The king stood up, raising his hands for silence. "My dear subjects, today we celebrate not only the return of our beloved prince, but also his transformation. Prince Henry has learned the value of kindness and compassion, and I have no doubt he will rule our kingdom with wisdom and justice." The villagers erupted into cheers once more, and Prince Henry, overwhelmed with emotion, thanked his parents and the villagers for their love and support. As the night wore on, the celebration showed no signs of slowing. The kingdom was filled with joy and laughter, and Prince Henry knew he had finally found his true place among his people. From that day forward, Prince Henry ruled the kingdom with kindness, compassion, and wisdom, beloved by all. The king and queen looked on with pride, knowing their son had finally become the leader he was meant to be.